think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away. Burn away, we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, hate is base, the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, hate is base, the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Making an Impact. No, you're not dreaming. This is real right now. Cody's at a local wrestling show tonight, meeting Josh, Alexander, and Masha. So I had not one, but two people to replace him tonight. So Ed, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. This was a wrestling show. It was a wrestling show. There was wrestling on a television show.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to be nice.
How are you doing, Parrish?
I'm doing a lot better than Ed, I guess. But I'm also going to call out Cody and be like, dude, you have responsibilities. Get your priorities in order, man.
I can't say anything. I'm leaving in March, so I have to be nice to him for leaving this summer. But yeah, I just
that's your birthday, so that's a different thing.
Maybe, for now. But yeah, I thought it was funny because as we were talking before the show started, I had not only Ed but Parrish tell me that the positive and negative things they saw about Impact. So this will not be like a regular show with us talking positive about Impact for once. So I think that'll be interesting to see. So that's why Ed typed that disclaimer because I apologize, Cody. It will not be as positive as when we usually do it by ourselves. Oh yeah, that's how I feel about my show right now too. Nowhere to be found. And thank you, Barry, for stopping by. Andre, aren't you supposed to be watching and enjoying the world champion right now? What are you doing here? Thank you for being here.
He just said he's watching them right now.
Well, he's watching both of us, but
He can watch them and us at the same time. It's fine.
See, that's
Trust me.
loyalty. Where's
Trust-
Cody? Why is he not logging on and commenting?
Trust me, from what I
Cody,
saw from
you
Josh
got some
Alexander
explaining to
tonight,
do.
from what I saw from Josh Alexander tonight, he's probably getting a lot better Josh Alexander tonight than we got last tonight. So, you know.
Well, you guys were talking about on taking over how Braun Breaker got from one place to another. How did Josh Alexander go from Impact to Top Talent?
amazing
Must be that
Jets.
same jet he's on.
Did you guys watch Before the Impact tonight? Before we talk about it.
I did. Isla Dawn looked very different.
Oh gosh. For those of you that don't know, we had Taylor Wilde with her new gimmick, if you want to call it like that, new character.
They
her
kept
witchy
referring to
character.
her as a witch, which I was
Yeah.
like, fine, but like NXT's doing a lot better job with their witch. Because she looks like a witch and she's acting like a witch, as opposed to Taylor Wilde, who's just dressed in black.
She's just doing her W and that's it.
I'm like, I don't understand this. Okay.
Yeah. So we had Taylor Wilde versus Kylie King tonight. This is her debut. So overall, I enjoyed. We've been not so positive about Taylor and her return so far in Impact. We think she's been a little bit slow. So I wasn't particularly excited about this match. It was the part of Kylie that made me excited about it because I love watching her. So seeing her in Impact was pretty nice. And I love one thing that they mentioned in commentaries, like she's been in AEW, she's been in New Japan Strong, and she's been part of NWA and now Impact too. So it's incredible to think about everything she's done in the past couple of months. But to me, more than anything, this match, it was more about Kylie and showing her off. Like, even though Taylor won the match, I feel like Kylie stole the show for me. She was doing so much better than Taylor was. And that's what I enjoyed out of the match more than anything. What did you think, Ed?
I really enjoyed Kylie King. It looked like she was doing drills because it looked like she was going at about a quarter or half speed. Like, it seemed like she was waiting to make sure that Taylor was in the right spots to do all the right things. This is not a match I'm going to remember in a few days. There was nothing of substance in this match that I saw. There was nothing I saw that was really great. It was fine. It was a 7-minute match. Kylie King looked good until she got hit with a move that the announcers didn't know is apparently Taylor's new finish.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if, the announcers had sold it like a finish as opposed to just a move to beat Kylie King.
I think it was like a neck breaker. Even like when she
Yeah.
pinned her, I didn't think that was the ending until she won. I was like, oh, that was it. Good to know. What do you think, Parrish?
I actually didn't think it was a bad match. I agree with Ed on Kylie King needed to make more of, pun intended, an impact when it comes to the fans remembering who she is, because you only get one debut. But also it's difficult because you also don't want to mess up. And when you're talking about her waiting for Taylor to be in the right spots, that's also a big sign of being nervous. So with that all happening, I don't think she did anything bad. I don't think Taylor was being selfish in the ring because she gave a lot of opportunity to her opponent to shine in that match. And I really like that because there was that effort. I think Taylor was the right person for that. I think Taylor Wilde really needs to be a part of a faction because I do think there's a lot of holes in her that, wrong way of saying that, there's a lot of holes wrong with her presentation where she needs that protection, and a good stable would help that with it. Taylor Wilde being a witch, Taylor does not surprise me. It makes sense. Her and Kylan, I felt like this was a match more for Impact, not BTI. I did like the match. I thought the match was good. I just don't think you're going to remember it because they didn't do anything of, like Ed said, of substance. Kylie needs to do something that people remember her for.
Speaking of a faction for Taylor Wilde, like, I know this person hasn't been around in a while, and it's because she's given birth to a new child. But Su Yung feels like a perfect fit for Taylor Wilde. Like, I think that whole universe of Impact is right in the wheelhouse of where she needs to go. And if this is the beginning of bringing Su Yung and the Undead Brides back, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think it was last week. Nikki from Women's Dressers Talk was here in the chat, was telling us that I believe Brandy, that was part of it. Like, she is not part of Impact anymore. It was one of the people. So it looks like the people that were involved with Su Yung are no longer under contract. But I wonder what Su Young's status is because we haven't heard anything from her since she gave birth. I know she returned like at an indie show not too long ago. So I wonder what really will happen with her sooner or later. But I don't know if she's under contract with them at the moment. Oh my goodness, Carl. To my understanding, Taylor was practicing witch. She's a firefighter too. Also Canadian, so she also has my support like she always has.
I mean, they mentioned a couple times that she's a practicing Wiccan. Like, she's like, it's not a... I make fun of it, like, the character, like, and we talk about Isla Dawn, because it's, for me and Astrid, it's the most common comparison. Like, Isla Dawn is playing a Wiccan witch who's using the solstice, who's using magical elements. Now, granted, it's not magic. We know what she's doing. But she's using that kind of stuff in her gimmick. And Taylor Wilde's like, I'm a practicing witch. You're not going to see any of it, like, in my wrestling, but I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, it's not like she's applying it to her character, though. The only thing you see her do is, like, W for the wild thing that she keeps doing. But other than that, she doesn't really do anything to, like, show you her character in the ring.
But, yeah, I mean, it was a fine match. There was nothing wrong with it.
I think that's just it, though. With her character, it seems like she's not committed enough to it. And because of that, I think everyone, including us as viewers and even the audience, are seeing right through it. They're just seeing it for what it is. Whereas if there was more commitment and there's maybe her more acting the part in that way, getting rid of things like that W that has, like, ooh, W's for wild, it's also for witch. Congratulations. It doesn't fit. And when it doesn't fit, it looks phony. So just commit more to the gimmick a little bit, and you'll be able to get a little bit more appreciation for what you're doing, but people will stop making fun of it like we're kind of doing right now.
No, yeah, I feel like it's like Cody and I have been like critical of her work so far because I feel like she's been not only slow, but even though she says she's a witch, we don't really see much of anything from her at the moment. So just, and then not only that, but aside from the match with Mickie James and that little bit that she had there with Mickie, she hasn't really had more of a storyline of any kind of like direction towards her. So I feel like it doesn't help either for us to like really cheer for her on TV with the way it's been going so far. So I might just waiting to see what else happens with her because I'm just waiting for that progress in her character.
I mean, I want to bring up something I read on the internet today. It was part of a story about Deonna Purrazzo, and who we're going to talk about in the next segment too. But I think it could be really something that I really wish that she would bring to the rest of the Impact roster. Deonna Purrazzo talked about her time at NXT and how the one thing she learned, for good or for bad, is they made her zone in on one gimmick. And they were like, you need to be all in on this. Now, she didn't like what they gave her, but they taught her the idea that she needed to zone in on that and do that one thing. And I think that's something that, as we're talking about it, if Deonna can help some of the other knockouts kind of zone in on that, the ones that are impressing us the most, Tasha Steelz, Jordynne Grace, Jessicka has done it numerous times. Rosemary has done it numerous times. Taya has done it numerous times. They have a defined gimmick that they zone in on and do. Now, granted, Jessica's working on her second zoned in gimmick. Rosemary's done about 5 of them at a time and had them all down perfectly before. Like, they can do this. They just need to kind of get the rest of these girls in line to be like, this is what you need to do, and kind of zone in on it.
Yeah. Next up, we had to open
point, Ed,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, as a wrestler or a former wrestler, I guess now, sometimes like it's so hard sometimes when you got to do that character, and I wonder if she's at that crossroad where she's, for so much of her life, she's learned just to be a wrestler, because she's not a bad wrestler. She's actually a very good wrestler. But when it comes to the character stuff, that's where it doesn't feel like she's very, very comfortable. So I'm wondering if she's trying to find her way to be a part of that character. Not because it's the character that she doesn't know, it's more or less how does she portray that and get comfortable playing a character, because I feel that's probably the disconnect right now. It's not so much the witch, it's so much just that commitment.
Yeah, to me, it's more about playing that character, not only because we see her in the vignettes doing it, but you have to apply it in the ring as well, and we don't get to see that so far from her. But some people that we get to see it from, we had Jessicka and Rosemary as the Death Dolls going against Gisele and Deonna Purrazzo. I feel like this match is not what I hoped it would be. It was slow to begin with. It could have been better, and I feel like it was short. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer than what it was. But one thing that I really liked was that the commentary was mentioning, it's like, well, here we have Gisele teaming up with Deonna, and she's the one that has killed the teams here in Impact. You know, she killed the Influence, and then these people are gone, and these are gone, and then she was teaming up with these people, and they're gone too, and Vex is gone too at this point, and showing that history of, like, she's not great with teams. But it is like, I wish we would have seen a little bit more from Deonna, because I feel like she's so strongest in her team versus Gisele. But yeah, I feel like this wasn't what I expected it to be. I don't even know what to say about the match itself. Just expecting the Death Dolls to win. I wasn't expecting Deonna and Gisele to win this match at all. What did you think, Parrish? Thank you.
Carl.
Very much, by the way, we're very much on the rails so far. We've talked exclusively about the matches that were going on, and somebody else who's in the next match.
Like, record has shown I can get way worse than what this is. And this
trust me, there's stuff. Trust me, there's stuff in here where we're going to go way off the rails, and Ashton has no chance of bringing it back.
No.
But getting back on to the question at hand, I didn't think the match was terrible, but I did find that there is a lack of investment of my giving a you-know-what. And I don't mean that in a bad sense, but I felt like as the match was going on, you could tell that it was more apparent who was going to win, and that's never a good sign in a match. Like, if the fans know halfway in that the champions are not going to lose, then you're not doing a great job of making them question what's going on. And because of that, I do think it's a fail at that point. Because as a performer, you got to be able to have every single fan always questioning, was it real? Was it scripted? Who's going to win? I don't know. You always got to make them on the edge of their seats while watching this. And I just found that more people seem to understand that there was probably going to be a match later on in time with Deonna and Gisele than if they were going to win the match or not. And I just don't feel like that was a great look for them.
Yeah, what did you think, Ed?
First, I wanted to point out Barry's point. I'm a big Deonna fan, best women's wrestler in the world, I think. But I felt for a bit she's just not going through the motion. Her heart's not in it. I agree. Deonna feels like someone, like, I've watched Deonna at her best, and I've watched Deonna at her worst in NXT. This is not Deonna at her best, at her peak, doing it because she's in love with it. This is Deonna just in there being a really good part of a match. What I'll say is I love the idea of having the Death Dolls, where you have, again, I'll go back to gimmicks. You have Jessicka on this brand new gimmick, where you literally have commentary talking about how they're building chemistry between Jessicka and Rosemary, even though they were tag team champions for how long? When she was Havoc, and they literally mentioned that she's Havoc. Like they're not sitting here and playing. Like Jessicka doesn't know that she was Havoc, but they know that she's Havoc, and the audience knows. Rosemary has done this to perfection numerous times, whether it be in Decay, whether it be part of the things with Su Yan, all the other amazing things that she's done. I think the Death Dolls are one of the best things that happened on this show. And that's saying something, because there was a lot of people on this show that I should care about that I cared a whole lot less than I cared about for the Death Dolls. Because while the match wasn't the greatest thing, I love the idea that the Death Dolls are still building chemistry and that they have this 3-person unit that doesn't know how to work together well, but they still have that Freebird rule. Mm-hmm. It's like taking the New Day and making the New Day not the New Day, but being the New Day. And having them try to figure it all out again after they've been, 11-time tag team champions and whatnot. It's fun. It's interesting. This match was okay. But I think that that's more to the fact that Gisele feels out of place with Deonna. Which is weird when you have Gisele's gimmick and Deonna's gimmick that aren't too far off. But they don't feel like they go together.
Yeah. No, and another thing is, like, when you talk about the Death Dolls too, is that we haven't really had Rosemary and Jessicka team up a lot. It's been more Taya and Jessicka lately. So that's why I think they also mentioned that part of, like, Rosemary being there and having that free role, because it's been Taya most of the time versus Rosemary being there. And going back to Daphne's comment, it's on Gisele and Gianna are both singles stars going forward. Yeah, I'll mention it now because it was something really small. But, like, backstage, they just look at each other and just look at each other. It's like, never again are we doing this, and they just leave. It's just obviously one of those, like, ways to end that chapter of, like, yeah, we're never gonna have Deonna and Gisele being a tag team again. This was just for Deonna to get that title match that she was owed, and that was it. It's done. So I'm glad it was done, to be honest. What were you gonna say, Parrish?
I was just gonna say, because there's been rumors flying around that Deonna Purrazzo might not be re-signing with Impact. So when you're hearing earlier that she's going through the motions, I wonder if that's kind of like hitting her for the first time, realizing this is kind of like nearing the last time, so I'm going to be here, or if it's her stuck. And that's where I'm really worried, because Deonna Purrazzo, we all know how good she is. We all know what she's capable of. That feud that she had going on with Mickie James and that match she had was easily the best stuff she's ever done. And that rose her stock like nothing she's ever done before. But now it just feels like she is so many miles away from that moment that it just feels like she has no idea what she's doing next. And if the rumors aren't true, I'm worried. But if the rumors are true, then I feel she's conflicted.
I feel like it also plays up with the storyline too that she's had for the last couple of months of, like, here, I'm going to go with my best friends of the tag titles. We lose them. And we team up with Gisele, and we lose our matches with Gisele too. And even losing the championship and losing against Mickie. So I feel like she's been in that end of, like, she's not in the spotlight as much anymore. Even she said it last week, she's like, I lost my best friend. I lost all the matches that I've had, or any title matches I've lost too. So she feels like, in a way, in her character, like she has nothing going for herself, which is reflecting on the program as well. And I think that kind of connects to that too. And just like I think we said it before the past couple of weeks, like I feel like she doesn't really have much going on aside from this with Gisele, unless it's like it leads to her and Gisele one-on-one. It's the only thing I could see. But at the same time, what does Deonna really gain from that at the moment? I feel like she's not going to be in the tag team. She's not going to be in the knockout title match anytime soon. So what does she really have going on at Impact at the moment? There's nothing for her. And it's unfortunate to think about that. She's one of those people that highlighted the Knockouts Championship in so many ways. And now we don't have a good direction for her. And I wish it wasn't that way, but it is, unfortunately.
I really hope and this is going to be something that I really hope they do. I hope she gets involved in Jordynne Grace and Mickie James.
No, maybe she does. Next up, we had Jordynne and Mickie backstage, and just Mickie telling Jordynne is like, I want Tasha for me in this match. And Jordynne's like, yeah, I just want to make sure that you make it to Hard to Kill and you make it to that match and like making sure that the job is done and you don't lose tonight. Did anybody have any thoughts about that since it was kind of quick? Yeah. And then this is when the Gisele and Deonna thing happened backstage. After this, we had the Sami Callihan promo. He's talking about the design, how he thought like basically this was done after he defeated EY. He's like, well, no, I got beat up last week and look what's happening. And I like this part of like when Deonna tells him, you have a sickness, and then every time you step in that ring, you start to sacrifice yourself. And you mutilate your body, your bones for the love and admiration of these people, but they don't care about you. It's like, this is when until you realize that the poison and the sickness you have flowing through your body, he's like, I have the antidote, which is violence. And it's like, you say that to somebody like Sami, when you think of violence, you think one of the people you think of is Sami Callihan, if anything. So I thought that was interesting. He's like, I want to join your group, and they just start beating him up. And I like one part that stood out to me too is when Alan tells him, I know about strength in numbers, having that reference back to the Dark Order too. But he's like, there's only a chosen few of us, if anything. So you're definitely not going to be one of them. But they start beating up Callihan until he's done. I thought this was maybe one of those times that maybe we could see somebody joining Sami to go against the design, but we still haven't seen any sign of that because I feel like Sami has no friends in Impact. Or let's say bring in somebody from another company, perhaps. But I thought that was interesting the way this ended. What did you think, Ed?
I actually want to put this up to Parrish because I want Parrish to talk about the promo skills of Cody Deaner and Alan Angels in this thing because they absolutely killed it, in my opinion.
I think when we're talking about people committing to a character or committing to the gimmick, I think this is exactly what we're talking about. This, like, Cody Deaner, and I was able to have the fortunate honor to share a locker room with him, and this is well beyond, this was probably 7 years ago. What he's turned into is an absolute treasure for Impact Wrestling right now. He is absolutely a player that in time should be a world champion. I am very, very happy for this guy, for the opportunity that he has, and I cannot wait to see more. Alan Angels is the perfect complement to Cody Deaner in this group. Well, I'm going to call him Connor. I know they call him Con. This guy is absolutely fantastic in his role. And I love this group more than I love Violent by Design. I don't think they need Sami Callihan. I think Sami Callihan played his role very well. If Sami Callihan does not join this group out of necessity, I have no idea what they're doing with him moving forward.
Yeah.
But in terms of the promo skills that they have, this is the time where that audience who I felt was, I don't know if they're just always quiet or they're just respectful like the Japanese crowd. But this is when you start making some noise for people. And I agree that he held his own against Eric Young, but the evolution that he's had has been second to none. He has revitalized his career, and the last person I saw that do this was PCO. This is phenomenal work that he's doing. But the buy-in and the way that he believes every single word that he's saying, this guy's going to be a danger to anybody in Impact Wrestling moving forward.
So here with me, I'm on two sides of this coin. Deaner cut a promo that made me feel the same things I felt for cult leader Bray Wyatt. calling him Samuel the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is Sami Callihan, the Death Machine. We know who he is. He's like Samuel. Like, he's talking to him like he's his father. Like, he's getting to him. And he's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that. He did the whole thing like walking to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't bother to get into the ring until he was done, which was so good. Alan, and to think that this is the same guy who, the last time I was watching Impact on a regular basis during the pandemic, was playing a redneck hillbilly with Jake Something. Mm-hmm. And Jake Something has done a great job reinventing himself into something completely different. Pun intended. But Cody is just done marvelous work tonight as Diener, and it made me totally buy into him. Alan Angels gave me Scrappy Doo vibes in the best way possible. Like, he seems to be like the yappy dog that's going to get himself into trouble for the design. Like, he's gonna sit, like, because you kept seeing Diener grab him and pull him back. Like, no, stop talking, shut up. No, stop talking, shut up. But then we get to the part where Sami Callihan wants to join Violent by Design, or The Design as they are now. Mm-hmm. And I lost all interest in anything Sami Callihan was doing for the rest of this segment. Because Sami's not a follower, Sami's a leader. Mm-hmm. Sami isn't the kind of guy who takes orders. Sami's the guy who delivers the orders. I almost thought when this segment started that we were going to get the return of OVE. And as dangerous as it would be to bring in Dave Christ again, I thought we were going to at least get Jake Christ back in Impact. Because if you're going to bring Sami back with a group, it might as well be OVE. And you take the hit if you have to with having Dave in that locker room. But the idea that Sami's character would want to join with somebody else where he's not in charge, like we said, it's committing to a character. Sami's good enough to know better than this. Maybe it's part of a much larger story, and I'll let it play out. But that part of it took me way out of it. And Alan Angels got me back into it because he cut a really good Scrappy Doo promo where, like you said, I know strength in numbers, the Dark Order thing. I almost wanted him to just put his hand up when he said it, but he didn't. I wanted him to wink at the camera, but he didn't. I love Connor as the big man. I think the Ascension was the biggest missed opportunity by WWE out of every single NXT call up that's ever happened. One of the biggest missed opportunities from Vince was missing on the Ascension, because I think those two guys had so much money in them, because Connor is such a good big man in the ring that it boggled my mind that they missed so badly by putting them as legend killer type gimmicks. I think it was a really, really great promo. We got Barry coming in. Diener does look like a cult leader. I was worried for a minute he might take Sami as his latest wife. But yeah, no, Diener completely sold the gimmick.
Wow.
He sold that everything he said was coming out of his mouth was true. Is Jake something signed anywhere else? No. Jake Somewhere is currently working all independent shows. He's not currently signed to any major company that anybody knows of. I know he's made an appearance on AEW, I think for Dark or Dark Elevation. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's ever appeared on Dynamite. I don't think he's ever appeared on Rampage or anything like that.
No.
I mean, you could bring him back. I think that would be interesting. But I think keeping them apart is almost as good as putting them together. Diener doesn't need anybody at this point. All Diener needs is nameless, faceless people to follow him. And like I said, he gave me Bray Wyatt vibes. Like, sitting in his rocking chair, Bray Wyatt at the height of Bray Wyatt vibes.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm curious about is that, is he trying to join them to try to infiltrate a way
Yeah.
to remove Diener and then take control, because he might look at the design and saying, hey, they have two guys that buy into what their leader's saying. They'll believe what I'm trying to tell them. As you said, Ed, he is a leader. He likes to be the guy in charge. He might look at Alan Angels and Connor as the perfect two people that will follow his every word. So he might be looking to replace Diener with himself, because if there's anybody who's violent by design, it is Sami Callihan. But how apropos would it be if the design for Sami Callihan was to replace Cody Diener?
Yeah, I thought about that too, because I kept thinking, we know Sammy as like not only a leader, but I feel like he's probably thinking of this point of view. Like, he tried to kill Violent by Design by taking Eric out, and he thought with Eric out, like, he was done, and it isn't. Dieter took over. So he's probably thinking the only way I can kind of kill this monster is by taking it from inside out, basically, and just like joining the group somehow to destroy from inside like this. And it's like, right now it's not like before with EY, we had a lot of people with the yellow hoodies. Now we only have 3 people. So maybe he feels like now, even there's less of them, it's maybe easier in a way for him to kind of take them out in that sense of like finding those weaknesses within the group and taking them out that way. And that's the route that I was thinking when he said he wanted to join them, because I kept thinking, well, first, if you don't have anybody coming out to save him, then maybe that was the point of like little by little he's gonna start earning their trust, so that way they make it like they accept him joining the group, and then he just storms them from within, if anything. And that's what kind of went through my head as I heard him say like he wanted to join the group, which is surprising when I first heard it. After this, we had Tommy Dreamer and Josh backstage talking about the bully race situation. And we were followed by footage of Austin and Bay, New Japan, and the way they were doing in Junior Tag League. So if you want to hear more about that, definitely follow Mel and Andre's channel. They have a lot of breakdowns of all these matches that happen there. So if you want somebody that knows what they're talking about when it comes to New Japan and the Tag League, definitely check out their channel. After this, we had...
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, what's up?
I really wasn't impressed by Matt Taven Light again. Still wasn't impressed.
I cannot with you. But anyway, next up we had Speedball versus Yuya Uemura. I like how they keep pointing out this is 2 weeks after the match, like nearly our match they have with Josh Alexander, which is amazing. But yeah, I like how this type of match we showed a little bit from both people. We had the power from Yuya and the way he was able to control Speedball at times, and Speedball, his kicks, obviously amazing as always. But I like how there was a good back and forth between them, and I like the pacing of the match itself is here as well. At the end, we just had Speedball winning the match over Yuya. What do you think about it, Parrish?
I thought this was definitely a match where they needed Speedball to get a win, because they know that the loss that he took with Josh Alexander was a big loss to take. Yeah. But it should be, because it was a big time match. It is one of the best matches Impact Wrestling has seen in a very long time. And there's a lot of good matches, but that one was one of their greats. My thing with Speedball is I do not get him outside of him being a really good professional wrestler, because he is. However, there is a lot of stuff that he does as a professional wrestler that I find that he makes look predictable. And I say that by his body motions and his facial expressions at times, where I feel that he's waiting for the next thing. And because of that, I do think he needs to simplify that aspect. I also feel sometimes that he's just so great of a human being that he brings that into his character a little bit, and that is a downfall, I think, long term. Outside of this, Yuya Uemura, am I saying that name properly?
Yeah. Yep.
Shot. I thought he looked fantastic tonight. I actually really liked him, and I hope that is somebody that is the mainstay for Impact, because that is somebody that could really make a lot of divisions and a lot of situations interesting with his insertion. I also thought this was a great match that they're using for Speedball to have a very good match with said whoever while they do their interaction with New Japan, because it's clear that that's their pick to have that interaction with New Japan. That's going to be their representation. So with that, it was a great showing. I'm just very concerned what Speedball Mike Bailey is outside of a really good wrestler, because I don't get his gimmick at all.
I had the same question that Barry had. I wondered if Yuya might struggle to keep up with the speed of Bailey, but I thought he was really impressive. I thought Yuya was super impressive, like Parrish did. I thought he was fantastic in this match. I didn't understand why in the middle of the match, the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Because it was a good match, but there was nothing awesome or earth-shattering about the match going, in midway through. At the end of the match, that I love Mike Bailey's finisher, that looks unbelievable. He's such a talented wrestler. And as Parrish says, I've seen this guy on his show. I've seen him on his Twitch streams. I've seen him on other wrestling shows. He seems like one of the nicest people in the world. But I think it would be better for him to bring his throwback character to television, because at least then he'd have a character. Because the French dude, was it Mike Baguette or whatever he is that he is on throwback, is such a funny dude and so great. And I think that's something he could do. Like, I've watched Friday Night Speedball. The guy's funny. The guy's got a sense of humor. The guy is really entertaining. How does he not have, like Parrish said, something more developed than I'm a really good pro wrestler? Because we've seen in AEW, there's a whole bunch of guys that are, I'm a really good pro wrestler, and it's not helping them get over. Daniel Garcia is a really, really good pro wrestler who isn't doing a whole lot. Yuta Wheeler. Yes, I got confused with Yuya in this match and Yuta on AEW. Wheeler Yuta is fantastic, but he's essentially, I'm the British Combat Club really good wrestler dude.
He's
wish there was
Storm 2.0.
No. Wheeler Yuta is much better than Lance Storm 2.0, because at least he doesn't have to stand there and go, I want to be serious for a minute. No, I'm not saying he's going to be better than Lance in the ring.
Lance Storm got paid a lot of money to say that, and I'm going to defend Lance Storm. I would say that if I'm getting paid Vince McMahon money myself.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have done exactly what Lance Storm did. I agree. Lance Storm did the best thing possible. I'm just saying that Wheeler Yuta is more entertaining than Lance Storm. Yes, Lance Storm is a better wrestler.
Sharpened pencil is more entertaining than Lance Storm. I'm going to agree with you there.
Like, there's a reason why all these other wrestlers are getting podcasts and Lance Storm isn't getting any phone calls. Because he would put everybody to sleep in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
That being said, I'll drink to this. If you want to join, well, yeah, I got you, buddy. And if I could be serious for a minute, I do mean this.
But for me, one of the best things about this segment was we got Kenny King at the end of this.
Yep.
I don't know if he's wrestling for AAA or for CML.
No.
CMLL.
Yeah, that was CMLL. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure which one. I put in my notes. I didn't know which one it was. Kenny King live to tape from Mexico. Kenny King, in 20 seconds, got over the feud with Mike Bailey so much better than anything else that they could have done. Because Mike Bailey doesn't do anything to get over this feud in the match. And Kenny King just comes on and he's like, you people don't deserve me. Impact, you don't deserve me. I'm going to stay here in Mexico. Well, yeah, of course you're in Mexico. You're in Mexico doing the same thing that Matt Taven used to do year in and year out for Ring of Honor. Go to CMLL, have fantastic matches, get paid a boatload of money, and then come back to the States and be like, all right, what did I miss? Nothing? Okay, cool.
I think this is a time where, like, I'm not gonna say anything bad about like the show, but I do think it misses a serious guy who has charisma like a Kenny King. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Kenny King inside the squared circle. I don't think he is like a top 10 wrestler in my eyes in a lot of companies he's worked for. But what I do think he brings to the table is a character that makes you invested in what he's doing next. So you will stay through that match. Despite liking what he does or not, he is that good. I think Bailey should be going to either CMLL or I think he should be doing something like New Japan. I really think he would be a great fit for New Japan Pro Wrestling, to be quite honest. But CML, 100% he should be.
I know he had visa issues getting in the States, so I don't know if Mexico is going to give him trouble too.
Maybe. I don't know.
I remember he didn't work,
I don't know.
he didn't work for any U.S. company for a reason. There's a reason why he was stuck in Canada for all those years. It wasn't because he didn't want to come to the States.
And he barely can leave Quebec because of their visa issues.
That's what I'm saying.
In front of Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
But
Kenny King sorry.
I was just going to say what my point is Kenny King is the perfect guy to work with guys like Mike Speedball, who may lack that like ability to drive a feud. Kenny King has that ability to keep people invested and interested in it because he is so charismatic. Despite the fact that he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan and him and I don't like each other for that reason, conversation we've once had, he is also fantastic at making you want to hate him in so many ways because he's just that good at it. And for that, I do think Impact really needs him there as much as humanly possible.
Kenny King's biggest comparison in wrestling is Mike the Miz Mizanin, right?
Yeah.
Like
Just
the
about
Miz
to say that. I
was gonna say that.
Like if Kenny King had a twin who from another mother in the wrestling business, it's Mike. It's the Miz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not the best wrestler in the world. They're not. Like I
he
love
might
the
be
Miz.
very comparable to Grayson Waller too.
Grayson Waller's getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like I said, like people like but the funny thing is Kenny King's known the Miz for a while. Considering, weren't they on the same season of Tough Enough? I know they were both on Tough Enough. I know they were both on Tough Enough. Whether or not they're in the same season or not, I don't remember. But I know Kenny King is a cast off from Tough Enough. At least once, if not twice.
I know he did a dating show, so I just kept thinking of the reality TV experience, but I don't remember if he did it.
He did do a VH1 reality show, and that was great.
I remember seeing that, yep. I kept seeing it on my timeline when it happened. I was like, I know that guy. Interesting. I just never picture him doing a show like that, but hey, you never know. But yeah, just like I feel like he draws eyes to what's happening. Kenny has just been saying that there's something about Speedball that we don't know, and he wants to show it off, and he wants to tell the world what it is, but he hasn't told us yet. He's been delaying that for a little while now.
I hope it's a character.
That's what I'm thinking based on the conversations that we're having right now. So I'm wondering if maybe we have, I think, based on, 3 weeks from tomorrow it's Hard to Kill already, so perhaps it's the match that we get official for Hard to Kill, because I haven't seen a graphic for that one yet, and I wouldn't be surprised if they added sometime soon for Speedball and Kenny King to happen for Hard to Kill instead. But yeah, I feel like it will be, I was thinking maybe perhaps what we see from him is Speedball showing off that character in there and showing something a little bit different for himself than what he's been showing off lately. So I think that'll be interesting to see. Did you find the answer, Fish? Because you're looking for it?
I was, but with my luck on the internet, when I search something, I get a shitload of ads. And 99% of the time when it's wrestling related I'm trying to look for, I'm getting a lot of anime ads. And I don't understand who anybody is. I don't think he is.
We'll talk later, Parrish.
Because the one person I do know that was in that season with The Miz was Ryback. And and Daniel Pewter, obviously, because he won. I don't think it was the same season because from what I saw, there was like 6 male competitors, and I did not see anybody that resembled King on there.
Yeah. Well, while it is searching, I'll let you guys know the next thing that happened. We had the Motor City Machine Guns with the major players and Heath and Rhino backstage talking about the title match and what it will be next. And then the Machine Guns said, what if we do a 4-team elimination match for the pay-per-view? It's like, if we're going to make the match, we're going to make a match that's an advantage to ourselves. So they say that, and then they have a good back and forth with Cardona, and Cardona just doesn't want to have it. But saving offers him. He's like, how about you and I go against each other next week? And Cardona just keeps saying, no, like, I'm a tag team guy. I have to be in a tag team match. Like, I don't do solo matches. And that's when we have Alex Shelley open the the door to the office to Scott D'Amore. And we have Sabian's like, here, I'm in the office, so I'm making it official now. Cardona and Sabian for next week. So I thought that was a funny way of just announcing the match because we hadn't made anything official yet for this title match. Did you have any thoughts on this one, Parrish?
I thought Heath, one line, stole the scene. Just the best. Nobody gives that more sarcastic expression better than Heath Slater. He is such a stud in every sense of the word that I would hire this guy in a second if I was starting a wrestling promotion. He is awesome. I love the fact that the Motor City Machine Guns decided, hey, look, we're going to be the fighting champions, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to give everybody an opportunity, but we're also going to make sure that we have a very equal opportunity to win this match, just like everybody else. We're not stupid. We're not going to do, say, a 4-way match where we have 25%. No. 25% is not fair. What we're going to do is we have an 100% chance to defend these titles the right way with an elimination match. And I love that. And I also love the fact that Cardona was in character in that way, saying he was a tag team guy. We all know, as a former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, among other championships, but that is by far the biggest one he's ever had, he is a lot more than just a tag team guy. Bubba Smokes in the house. How are you? For a long time, the X Division has lacked personality. Last champion who could do a good promo was Rohit Ranju. Yeah, I can see that because he is one hell of a talent.
Wasn't Chris Bay
but
an X Division champion at one point?
Yeah.
By the way, he was on season 2.
The glass comment. Yeah. Anyway, I really liked this because it made everyone care about all the teams involved, despite one team not even being there. And I love the comment, what, I have to go to Japan? Like, just stupid little comments like that made everybody care. It was investment by the people who were watching. Therefore, you're invested as a viewer. This is exactly what a backstage segment needs to be. And because of that, everyone gets a gold star on their forehead.
Did you have any thoughts on it, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, the tag team conference outside Scott's office, setting up the 4-way, and Cardona too. It felt like it went on a little long for me. It was fine. I mean, it involves, Matt Taven light, great value Matt Taven. So, I mean, he wasn't there, but the segment involves him, so I obviously care about it a little bit less. This is going to be a great matchup. That 4-way at Hard to Kill is going to be fantastic, especially since it's an elimination.
It's going to be the match of the night.
No.
Match of the night. I'm going to host them.
No, I think Jordynne versus Mickie is going to be better than this.
It'll be the most emotional match. I think from a technical standpoint, this has the match qualities of being match of the night. So I should have been a little bit more explanational about that. I may have made up a word, but Ed, I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, that's about all I had. And by the way, people who have helped, I was wrong. Chris Bay was before Ranju. But the people sense him to hold the X Division title, There's been a lot of guys who can actually cut a promo. I mean, TJP, no, but Ace Austin held it after that. Then Josh Alexander held it until he vacated it. Yeah, it's about all he can get. Then Alexander held it until he vacated it for option C. And then Trey Miguel, Ace Austin. Again, while I don't like Matt Taven light, great value Matt Taven, he's not bad in the ring and he can cut a half-decent promo. And then Frankie Kazarian until he cashed it in, and now we got Trey Miguel. Now, I mean, I know Trey Miguel is Cody's favorite wrestler, and we'll never forget that. You know, but like, there are people who can absolutely cut a promo that have held that X Division title for a while. This was an alright promo segment. It was fine. It did what it needed to do. It made the match for Hard to Kill. It made a match for next week on a best of show, which seemed weird.
True. I didn't think about that. I was thinking we're gonna have an off night with just awards and recaps. Yeah, I think that's the only match that was for next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Honestly, I would still just skip next week and be like, it's a award show, and then not do anything, and even just do like an Instagram live and be like, hey, this match happened. This is what happened.
Yeah. Next after that, we had Jason Hodge and John Skyler, who just teamed up last week. They had a truce to each other, saying they were going to team up. So we were going to start with them more than anything. And then we had Swinger and Dice come in. And this is, at first, when you're thinking, this is part of Swinger's, and 50th wins. Yeah, that he's working towards. And then we heard Bully Ray's music, and then we had Ziggy just take off with Swinger after that. It's like, yeah, we're getting the hell out of here before we can. So I thought that part was funny. When we had Bully Ray revive, he just took out Skylar right off the bat. He zip-tied Jason Hodge to the top rope like he did to Josh before. And he was asking for a microphone, doing his promo as he would. And he's like, this tag team is not going to live much, because Josh is not coming to save him anyway. And then we wait until Josh comes in and makes a save. And it just, the guys, Jason and John Skyler, are showing that they're actually helping Bully Ray against Josh here. So they tie up Josh on the zip ties on the top rope. And then we have Tommy Dreamer make the save. So we now get not only one save, but two saves in one segment. He's trying to take out Bully Ray, but he doesn't. Bully starts hitting him with the ladder, steel chair, just as Josh can only watch as he did when it happened to Jade. So after that, the way the segment ends. Did you have any thoughts about it, Ed, as you were sleeping here?
Oh, I have many, many, many thoughts. I hated this whole. I hated every single element of this thing from start to finish. None of this felt like good storytelling. None of it felt like it was coherent. None of it felt like it made me care about the match between Bully and Josh. So let's start with the easy stuff. Why would John Skyler and Hodge want to help Bully Ray first and foremost? I didn't understand their motivation for doing that. So that seemed weird. But fine, we'll get past that. So the person who Bully has to beat in the match to get the world title is Josh Alexander, right? So we're going to zip tie him to the top rope. All right, that part makes sense. But we're not going to beat him up. That doesn't make sense. And then Tommy Dreamer comes running out. Tommy Dreamer coming out makes sense. Josh Alexander looking like he's going through hell watching Tommy Dreamer get beat up instead of him makes absolutely no sense, because Josh basically told Tommy to go to hell about 20 minutes ago in a backstage segment where he's like, if you need me to forgive you, fine, whatever. I don't give a shit. I don't care about you. I don't care, and walked away. Why does him beat, like, it? I get why Bully would beat up Tommy. I get why Tommy would want to come out and make the save. But I don't understand why this makes Josh so angry and upset. And I'm going to lump in the next segment we get after the commercial break. Because then Josh is backstage with Scott D'Amore and he's like, I can't be the good guy anymore. Because why? Because Bully keeps calling you Scott D'Amore's little puppy? Like, I don't... None of this felt like it made a whole lot of sense. It added like 4 storylines together, only one of which kind of sort of worked. Like, great, we got to Full Metal Mayhem. Cool, but okay? And it took forever. Like, it took forever. Because the only speed Bully has is uber slow, and I gotta do everything at this speed. Do you know who I am? Like, I hated this. I hated it. I found almost nothing to enjoy about this entire segment.
Did you fall asleep, Parrish, too?
No, because I like the swerve he had with Bully Ray using the tag team to his advantage. I'm going to agree, it made zero sense, but I was interested to hear why. So I would give it a pass, because if next week Bully Ray had a group and those guys were a part of it, I can, okay, there was a rhyme to the reason. But we don't know if it's that way. And because of that, we've got to question it, right? And then Josh Alexander, as, you know, the goody two-shoes that he is, he makes the save because he does the right thing. He's the Captain America of Impact Wrestling, even though he's from Canada.
Captain Canada.
He comes in only to, you know, look like an idiot because he fell for said swerve. And then he gets tied up. Bully Ray doesn't want to beat him up. In fact, he very hesitantly almost hits him with the steel chair. I don't understand why he would hesitantly not hit him with a steel chair. Don't get that. And we have Tommy Dreamer coming in. Makes a lot of sense because Tommy Dreamer doesn't like Bully Ray. He thinks he's friends with Jason Alexander or Josh Alexander. But yeah, Josh Alexander proved to me one thing that I always thought about him. As great as the guy can be, it's his storytelling while the story's going on that's always going to minimize your perfect run. Yeah, if this was an Aces and Reunion of sorts, it would make more sense. If there was any correlation that the fans knew of with Bully Ray, it would have made sense. The fact is, Bully Ray appears to have no friends in Impact Wrestling. He has nobody that wants to do anything with him. Then we have what Ed said was a very awkward interaction and promo with Tommy Dreamer and Alexander. Therefore, why does Josh Alexander give a you-know-what about Tommy Dreamer in any shape, way, or form when he's like, if this is what you want to hear, here it is, and walks away? That's basically saying, hey, look, go F yourself. I'm doing me. I understand what they're doing. I don't like their presentation of what they're doing with the single fact that their major championship is on the line in this feud. This was a massive fail for me because your massive title needs to have every element that makes me give an SHIT, and this segment didn't.
I think it also goes back to the point of like Josh is trusting anything that happens with Bully, and he shouldn't. And like he's been warned for weeks now about it. It's like, if you know that Bully was just in the ring with these two, should we really trust going inside that ring? And it goes back to like he shouldn't have at the beginning. And it just also made me question, like, why are Hotch and Skylar even helping Bully? Like, I'm curious to see what happened there, like how this got together to begin with, because I was not expecting that part of it. And I think going back to the part of like the way Josh was acting when he saw Tommy Dreamer is what he said to Scott afterwards. He's like, I felt bad afterwards seeing him do that because the conversation I had with him, you know, I was a jerk to him and I wasn't listening to him. So I feel like it goes back to that later on when he tells Scott how he felt. But like I said, it just goes back to that overall point. It's like, you shouldn't trust anything that involves Bully Ray at this point. And why do you? Well, you should know better than that. HPT Sweet, I trust Bully as high as I can toss him over the top rope.
But
Well, we just talked about a little bit.
that,
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
just to add to that promo that Alexander had with Scott D'Amore, I thought Scott D'Amore wrecked that entire thing for me because just when it should stop, he kept going. And it was like, dude, shut up. You already got the people. Cool, I'm there. And then he kept talking, and now it's me not understanding what's going on. I did not like that for that reason. I did not like the fact that Josh Alexander gave you all this emotion, and then as soon as Scott talked, he just became very stoic, not really mad. Like, he should have still been angry while listening. He should have been uncontrollable while listening. He should have been hard. He just should have been very difficult in that conversation, and he wasn't, because his emotions were supposed to get the best of him in that situation. But his emotions seemed to be just fine near the end of it. And for that, I just didn't like it.
We already discussed a little bit that Josh and Scott the more backstage part, so I'll move on to we had Steve Maclin versus Rich Swann. I think more than anything was the storytelling in this match of the way that Steve has been lately. It was like, I've got the wins, I've done what I can to have that world title match, and I still don't have it. Like, I have somebody like Bully Ray come over, and he won the call your shot gauntlet. And he has a shot before I do, even though I worked so hard for it. So he's at this point in his mind trying to find a different way to get the attention he needs to get that title match. So I think this is just what we saw more than anything, the storytelling within this match. And after the match, because even after he wins, he starts beating up Swann, and to the point that the referee does the DQ on it, and he's trying to beat up the referee, beating up security. They had to separate him and Swann. And we get to that point of, like, he's frustrated with the way he's been working things lately, and he wants that world title. I'm just doing what he can to get that attention. And yeah, that's pretty cool though, about Masha. So what did you think about that part, Ed?
All right, so I mean, I went back and watched this match because I missed it the first time, because I assumed it was going to be longer than it was. I like the direction they're taking with Maclin. I like the idea. I thought that commentary decided to take a big, huge Bray Wyatt-sized mallet and make sure that we understand that Steve Maclin is angry and mad. Because I feel like the only commentary the entire match had was, hey, Steve Maclin thinks he deserves a title shot. Steve Maclin's doing everything wrong, and Steve Maclin's attacking. How dare he attack Kazarian? How many times did they mention the name Kazarian and imagine didn't involve Kazarian? He's not even in the company. He's back in AEW. He doesn't work for you anymore. Why did we hear the name Kazarian, 7 times in this 6-minute match? Yeah. Where they both got counted out and fought for longer than the match happened? The best part of this match was that Maclin attacked the referee.
Yeah.
You know what would have been really cool? If Maclin would have come in and tried to save Josh Alexander, only to beat up Alexander while Bully beat up Tommy Dreamer. Like, that would at least... Because if the idea is that Maclin wants a title shot, shouldn't he be, interacting with the champion as opposed to, I don't know, wrestling Rich Swann? Like, no offense to Rich Swann. Congratulations on signing a 2-year deal today. Good job, Rich. You are a fantastic wrestler, and you deserve so much things. Uh-oh. I'm going to end up in Cody's office next week because...
Cody, I don't have
Cody, to be fair, though.
Cody, you missed this. Hold on. I got to put it up for you. The opinions of Ed and Parrish are of their own. We don't blame Astrid for it.
Yeah. Hey, man, don't like me into this. He hasn't called me out. But also, I'm going to call him out. Can you throw his comment up right before that about Masha?
This one?
Yeah. Congratulations. But Cody, as you're watching in the local wrestling show, we're here talking some Impact freaking wrestling, all right? Because that's the job we have going on. So nobody cares. Because we're talking about Steve effing Maclin right now. Maclin, I'm going to say this. I 100% hope that Maclin is the guy that negates any help Bully Ray has to win said match at Hard to Kill. But then he turns on Josh Alexander after the match. So Josh Alexander's total mindset is force on Maclin. I think Steve Maclin is going to turn at Hard to Kill, but earn himself a title shot and become the guy to dethrone Josh Alexander as world champion.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Watch one show. If that happens,
Why am I getting called up by everybody in the comments? Like, it was bad. Like, can you focus on the talent you have? This is like WCW in 2000 talking about the NWO after all the NWO have taken their money and walked away. Like, you focus on the talent you have. Like, Steve Maclin's in the ring with Rich Swann. Like, Steve Maclin's not... He wants to wrestle the champion, but he refuses. This would be like Kevin Owens trying to confront Sami Zayn and, I don't know, fighting with Akira Tozawa. Like, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It doesn't even remotely even factor into 2.
I really hope that gets clipped, by the way. I really hope that gets clipped.
Later. He's ready.
Like,
Just getting a clue.
like this was fine. Like, I liked the match. Like I said, I think commentary did more to derail this match than it helped it, because it makes me wonder why Maclin is doing the things he's doing if that's the goal he wants to get. Like, if you want them to put you in the title match, as Bully Ray has proven, just screw with the champion and you'll get it. Like, if you watch anything, like Papa Smokes here, Ed's keeping it real. Papa Smokes has watched a lot of wrestling. Even back in the territory days when Papa Smokes, and that's the wrestling Papa Smokes likes. And guess what? I've watched a lot of old school NWA. I've watched a lot of old school AWA. If you wanted to fight with the champion, you just went up and fought the champion and did things to the champion. And guess what? You got yourself in title matches. Steve, that's what you got to do. Just fight with Josh. You can get yourself in a match. I know Bully Ray won that. I know it's not just messing with the champion. But this isn't the first time that we've seen Bully Ray get, like, championship matches and things in his illustrious career that he didn't deserve. Like, if you're going to tell me Steve Maclin wants a title match and he wants to get the attention of the people who are running the company, being in the face of the champion and not wrestling Rich Swann are more ways to get the attention of Scott D'Amore. And again, I'm coming at this from an outsider. I'm coming at it from, I watch your guys' show, and I enjoy watching your show, but I don't watch the product on a week in and week out basis. And commentary did nothing to make me understand why he's not getting it. Because they kept talking about him attacking Kazarian.
Yeah.
From a creative standpoint, you have to have an idea of what you're doing with Maclin, though. I don't feel like even if there is, it doesn't come across that way with the presentation that we had today. Because it just seemed, yeah, you have the match against this guy, and this guy happened to be Rich Swann. Rich Swann is a great wrestler. Was he not a former champion in Impact Wrestling? So therefore, he is credible. However, he didn't feel credible. Therefore, this match that should have been here felt like here. Like you said, Ed, the announcers didn't do a great job of making this a thing. Maclin should be more mad. Maclin should have done more definitive to prove why he should be the guy getting the shot, not Bully Ray. Yeah, there was a
Yeah, Chris
shot.
Sabin proved that. If Chris Sabin taught us anything, this is exactly right. Barry's right.
Yeah.
He needs to stand half in, half out D'Amour's thing, and just announce that he's a triple threat match. Like that. If apparently that works, ask Chris Sabin.
Yeah. It makes me think like at the end he's gonna get involved in that title match either way. Maybe thinking if I help out Josh because I want to go against Josh, I'd rather go against Josh and Bully. Maybe something like along those lines, and he will get involved just so that way he feels like I helped you, you owe me a title match now, something like that. But I just like you said, just like I'm thinking, what does Swann have to do with the title match? And it makes me feel like they want him in the title match after Bully is done with Josh, but they don't have anything for him right now while that is happening, which is the unfortunate part because it makes you like think, how is he going to earn it? Because he's had wins already, so the wins should help. So aside from that, what does he really have to do to get that title match? And that's the part. But I know for sure, like I know he's probably going to win that world title next year sometime. But it just like I feel like they don't know what to do with him for that time being until Josh is done with Bully at Hard to Kill, hopefully, and then after that, hopefully it'll be Steve. That's my hope.
Maclin feels like a big deal, but like, and Maclin's great. Like everything Maclin did tonight as a character is great, except for what the commentators were saying his motivation was, and like that's the only thing I have as a problem with it. Like, I loved everything Steve Maclin did tonight. You know, taking the double count out just to beat up Rich Swann, getting in the referee's face and pushing the referee around and whatnot, beating up security and having the brawl with Rich Swann. All of that makes sense that he's this mad guy who's not getting what he deserves. But it just feels like there's a missing step for what's going on with the world title picture and Steve Maclin. That like, that commentary is telling a different story than the wrestlers are in the ring. And that's as dangerous as anything else to a viewer who's never watched your show before. And again, that's the thing that Parrish and I can bring to this. Parrish can understand this from a much different point of view than me, being an in-ring talent, being backstage and how shows get put together. But I can tell you from just a fan's point of watching it, it felt disconnected and disjointed from what the wrestlers were doing in the ring versus what commentary was telling me the wrestlers believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After that, we just had Jordynne and Mickie just getting ready for the Max backstage, and then we had Eddie and Aisha talking backstage about what's happening between them. I really didn't care much about this. I don't know if you guys took notes on it, but it's just like I feel like at this point, I don't know what they have still like a conversation back and forth on this one. She already told him how she feels, and he's still going in his own ways. So unless I see any progress on that end, I didn't care much for that part. I don't know if you guys did.
No, and you kind of just said it though. Like, if you're gonna do something for the sake of doing it, chances are it's not a good idea. You need to bring something to the table. You got to have some relevancy, and if you don't, it's better that you just don't do it. Give that time to a match.
Yeah. After this, they give us a recap for the card for Hard to Kill, which is Eddie, Edwards, and Gresham. The tag team title, the elimination match, so Machine Guns versus Major Players versus Heath and Rhino versus Ace and Bay. And then we got announced Trey Miguel versus Black Taurus, which is something that came out of nowhere that was just confirmed tonight. And then Jordynne versus Mickie title versus Career. And then we had Josh and Bully for the world title. And then now for the main event, we had Tasha and Savannah versus Jordynne and Mickie. This is exactly how I pictured the moment they announced it, just like that way of like Mickey's being in the ring, trying to prove to Jordynne that she can stay in there as much as she wants. There was even a point that she was looking at Jordynne instead of tagging her, and she just looked at her like, I can handle this. Versus when she was about to get pinned, Jordynne's breaking up the pin, thinking, like, I want her to survive her Hard to Kill. I don't want her to lose that match tonight because I want her for that match. And then when towards the end, when Jordynne gets tagged in, does a muscle buster and just wins the match, and Mickie's just disappointed, thinking, like, you had to get the pin. You didn't let me kind of do that job. But it's the same thing that Jordynne told us, like, I'm going to make sure the job gets done. We win the match, and you survive. You be Hard to Kill. This is what she told him from the get-go. And then they keep pushing and shoving each other after the match until Mickie does the mid kick and just leaves after the match. What do you think about it, Parrish?
Kind of going backwards from this, and I go about this way because I like to go about my matches this way. One, I laughed really hard at the pause between after the mid kick and they played her music because you heard flat out from an audience member, hardcore country, because he knew at that time was the best time to play the music. I thought the audience, I mean, I'm just going to say this, was hilarious during the show. They just were very quiet. Bye, Ed. But I thought this match was fine. Really good. I thought Savannah Green was very, very protected in this way. I thought she was very late and very obviously late when she pushed Mickie James off the top rope. And I do really hope that they do a better job moving forward to bring her up to speed, because Tasha Steelz is somebody that you really want to do something with. 100%. Savannah Evans. Yeah, I'm calling her Savannah Green because she's green. There's a rhyme to the reason of why I'm saying that. If you want a last name, no, don't give me a reason to call you something else. But Jordynne Grace, I feel this might be I don't know what you guys are going to think about this opinion. I think she's the female Braun Breaker. I say this because I don't know. I don't want to see her champion any longer, and I just started watching this show today. I don't think that's a good sign. However, I thought this match was designed to make people want Mickie James to win, only for Jordynne Grace to get the win, just so for their match at Hard to Kill, it's like 100% we want Mickie James to win because we don't want her to retire, kind of a thing. Therefore, when she probably does lose and retire, it's the most emotional thing in the world. I think that's kind of the story going on. I just thought this was too much Jordynne and Mickie, and I don't think Tasha did enough to make people think about her in this position, even though she had a layup to steal the show tonight.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to Daphne's point. It's something I thought about as well. Mickey's storyline is so enjoyable, was crazy. It can go so many ways. I sensed a bit of a heel Mickie wanting to do things her way. Yeah, I feel like we saw that the shades of that towards the end of the match, and just like she kicked her because she didn't do things the way she wanted them to be, and she was like, at the same time, like I said, Jordynne told her from the beginning, I want the job to get done. I want you to be in a match at Hard to Kill with me. And if you lose this match, we don't get the match at Hard to Kill. So it goes back to that too. What did you think about it, Ed?
Jordynne, as charismatic as Jordynne Grace can be, especially on Twitter, like she seems like she has an incredible personality on Twitter. It seems like she can really have a funny and a humorous side. Tonight, she felt incredibly robotic. Nothing felt real or legitimate from Jordynne Grace tonight. It was a weird, off-putting way to watch her, because I don't get to watch her on a regular basis. Truth be told, this is the first time I've signed up for Impact other than to watch a pay-per-view in years. I watch YouTube stuff of a lot of their matches, but I don't watch their promo stuff. Mickie heel turn to win the title. I kind of agree with Parrish. I think that they're setting us up to all take the gut punch at Hard to Kill. Could they push it all the way out to Bound for Glory? Probably. Should they? I wouldn't. I think Mickie James is good for the division to a certain point, but I think Ric Flair showed us exactly how a retirement tour is supposed to go in wrestling. Now, granted, he hasn't stuck to it since he did it, but like the retirement.
I was gonna say, why retirement?
The retirement tour, and they probably will drag it out to Slammiversary because they don't. I don't know if they have another story to tell in that division, because I don't think they'll go back to Tasha.
I'm going to give everybody one thing, and I think we all will love to see this. But what if, by chance, we see come January, and I'm saying this because I hope because I'll be there. Come January 28th, we see Mickie James enter the Royal Rumble for the second year in a row as Knockouts champion.
I could see it. What I was saying about Mickie, though, is like Ric Flair's career-threatening tour that WWE put him on, when he had all those matches, they knew the cutoff point they needed to have. They knew it was WrestleMania, and they got the perfect guy to do it in Shawn Michaels, and they had the perfect match. Now, granted, Ric Flair being Ric Flair, obviously that wasn't the last match he ever had, not by a long shot, but it told the story the way the story needed to be told. I think Mickey's needs to be much of the same. I think Mickey's story should come to an end at Hard to Kill. I don't think you gain anything if she continues beyond Hard to Kill. Obviously for her career, obviously she financially gains and has great matches with a bunch of people on the indies. But as far as Impact is concerned, is there anybody on that roster that we need to see Mickie face again? Like, do we need Deonna Purrazzo again? And do we need Tasha Steelz again? Because that's the only program I can see them going back to. Because it's the only program that's been presented to me is that they go back to Tasha Steelz because Tasha says, you've never been able to beat me. I always beat you. Daphne comes in and says, I was going to say that, Paris, that she could lose and go to the Rumble and win the title at WrestleMania. Lucky number 7 is fulfilled. I mean, yeah, you can go back to Tasha. But Masha and Kelly, you could go to them. Do they still work for you? Do they show up? Because I saw neither hide nor hair of any mention of Masha Slamovich or Killer Kelly on this show. I've heard you guys talk about both of them, but Impact sure as hell isn't telling us anything about them. They're so important to the show that they're not anywhere around. No vignettes. I don't want to do this because all wrestling promotions are different. But NXT is constantly making sure that there are enough women in segments to show us where things are going to go from here. I have no idea if Mickie wins, other than Tasha, where they go from here. Now, granted, the Roxanne storyline is a big aberration because I don't think WWE in their storytelling lore foresaw firing their former women's champion of 400 days. The day after she loses the title. I don't think that was in their plan. If it was, good for them, but they did a bad job of storytelling if they did. But, there's got to be something more for Mickie.
You have to think if Mickie is actually going to hang him up at some point, that there's a little bit of input on her end of how she does it. And I could talk about this from firsthand experience that if you're going to go out, you want to do it a certain way, or there's certain aspects that you at least want to be a part of that. In most retirement matches, that's how it seems to go. The only thing I could say is right now, Mickie James seems to be one of the few pieces that are holding this Knockouts division up right now. And I don't think it's really in Impact Wrestling's best interest to throw that away. Would they, out of respect? Possibly, and most likely, because Mickie James, in my opinion, is the greatest female wrestler of all time. I just don't know if the right thing for Impact Wrestling's Knockout division right now is for Mickie James to not be a part of it.
And I wanted to also point out, when they keep mentioning about the last rodeo, they don't say she's retiring from Impact. She says she's retiring from pro wrestling, as a whole. So that's the part that it makes me wonder if she'll win that title and then go to the Rumble and show up as champion again. And like we said, it's we have people like Masha and Killer Kelly who we haven't seen. So maybe there could be people that could be built up in a couple weeks while Mickie wins to have her against them, because Masha was last seen against Jordynne. We haven't seen her after that. And Kelly just had one match against Sandra, who we didn't know who Sandra was. It was like a random match. She won it and she disappeared again. So it just like, and that's another thing we've been mentioning the last couple of weeks is like, not only did we have people that are in the like part of the roster but haven't been on the show, but like we also have people like have been leaving. So like so many of them are leaving out in a row because they lost, people like the Good Brothers, and they lost people like Honor No More, like most of the group at this point. And they lost people like Chelsea Green too. It's just like they've been losing so many people, and they need to fill out the roster like as soon as they can. And I feel like all we're getting is like re-signings here and there, and not necessarily a lot of new signings. So I'm hoping we see that in the next couple of weeks because they need to bring something fresh to the table. And Cody's comment, Mickie turning heel and going on a search by any means necessary to stay off retirement. Yeah, and I was like, as I said, I could see her being in the Rumble as champion, and just like with Triple H in charge, you could easily hear Impact Knockouts champion as well, and that helps out a lot too, having her as a second time on the Rumble coming in as champion too. So you never know, but I feel like Ed was saying, is like at this point we really don't have much of a story with other people, as aside from Tasha going back and saying like, you never really beat me one-on-one though, you beat me in a tag team match, and that was it. But I feel like we need something else there, and it's like I don't want her against Deonna again, because that means Deonna loses, and I don't want Deonna losing again. I feel like she's been doing a lot of that lately, and I don't want that for her either. So I feel like in this part, aside from like the Jordynne Mickie storyline, it doesn't feel like a lot going on in the Knockouts division right now, and it's unfortunate.
I gotta ask, if it's internal and if it stays in Impact Wrestling, is Deonna Purrazzo the one you want to see end Mickie James' last rodeo? Is it Tasha Steelz? Is it is it someone else? Like who would that be? Like if you were as a viewer watching this and you're like, okay, and you've come to the understanding that this is going to end, who locally or internally for Impact Wrestling, locally bad word, internally for Impact Wrestling is that right person? Because part of me wonders, Jordynne Grace, Tasha Steelz, even Deonna Purrazzo, I don't even think you say Masha Slamovich, but again, she doesn't feel like she's a big player if she's not even mentioned. First time watching Impact in years, haven't heard her name. Hard to tell she's even part of the company if that's the case. There needs to be something going on. I think whoever ends it should be primed for the opportunity. I just don't know if you get anybody other than Jordynne Grace, Tasha Steelz, Deonna Purrazzo at this point. And Deonna Purrazzo is a distant third. But who would it be? If anybody right now, who are you choosing?
Yeah, I keep thinking of Masha just because she's Mickie picked her to be the pick your poison. I think it was against Deonna. So I think it will make sense to have somebody like Masha. It's like, you pick me, but now I pick you kind of situation. So that'll be something interesting to see. The other one for me could be Deonna too, because I feel like Deonna would need that boost right now, like I said, because she doesn't have much going on at the moment. But imagine saying like, I retired Mickie James. She's been saying that when she's had segments backstage with Chelsea, she's like, I'm the one that's going to retire Mickie James. She's always confident about doing so. So I think it will be interesting with somebody like Deonna take that power and she's like, I'm going to retire you. And I said I would, and I did it. So I feel like for me, like those are the two that I will pick to do that right now. And the third could be Tasha, just to say like, I beat you all the time. I always beat you when I go one-on-one with you. You never beat me. So I think that will be an interesting point to go forward between them. But those are the only three that I could think of, like that could maybe in the future say I retired Mickie James.
And I want to bring up Cody's point here, because he says Jordynne versus Masha just put back-to-back match of the year candidates. She doesn't need to be on every episode. And he said before that she's building anticipation after the loss to Jordynne for a big return. That's great, but guess what? As newcomers to your product, my job isn't to go into your back catalog and find out that Masha's done this and that. Your job is to continue building storylines continuously over and over and over again to get these people ready. Even if Masha's just cutting promos being like, look, I'm taking some time. I'm down in the dumps. I couldn't beat Jordynne twice. I just couldn't get to that level to be able to beat Jordynne Grace. Like, you can't blame the outsider's point of view for not being able to see that kind of a thing. While I agree Masha's probably a great idea, I think Tasha Steelz gains more from beating Mickie James and ending that than anybody else in this company. Like, there's nobody who Masha gains it. Masha's a big name on the independent circuit. Masha's a big name for a core group of hardcore fans who know who Masha Slamovich is from her relatively short time in Impact and all the other things. But you know who's been in Impact for a while, trying to prove herself, doing the best she can, killing it as part of, Heat and Flavor or whatever it was when she was with Kiera Hogan? Like,
Yeah.
Tasha Steelz is doing a lot of really, really good work. And I think that she is the future of this division because I honestly don't see her going anywhere else. I don't see Triple H having a massive vested interest, unfortunately, in Tasha Steelz. I don't think she's his type of women's champion. We're seeing the kind of people that he's bringing in. We're seeing the kind of people he's bringing back. And mind you, Valerie Lordell, the MMA fighter, seems to be that representation that he's bringing in for that community, which is fine because he's not neglecting the community. He brought in someone specifically to tap that. And I think Lola is going, as her WWE name seems to be, is going to have a whole lot of fun bringing that Latin flavor to the WWE. But AEW doesn't do a really great job of highlighting their women. It's a bad week to say that because they just had a banger in the main event last night. And that was fantastic. But those matches are few and far between. The times that you can go, AEW did really good job putting their women on the forefront is not something you get to say very often. Impact is. Impact is constantly putting their women on the forefront. Impact is constantly making you care about this Knockouts division over and over and over again. But to my point, as an outsider looking in, watching this 2-hour broadcast, they didn't tell me about anybody or anything going on in the women's division outside of these 3 people. Sorry, Savannah, you don't get counted. You're not part of this. You're literally just there to be muscle. Like, you can't blame the viewer for not being a long-term viewer to... You're shortchanging yourself by streamlining who you're positioning. And Impact normally does a very good job of having an A and a B and sometimes a C storyline in the Knockouts division. Where are those stories right now? Where are the fact that it's avoidable? It's avoided Mickie versus Tasha, Mickie versus Taya, Mickie versus Masha on this last rodeo makes it impossible for me to believe she's losing it hard to kill. Just because they've avoided doing certain matches doesn't mean they have any implication on doing those matches in the future. Those may not be people on Mickie James's list to work with. She may say, I've already gotten everything I'm going to get out of Tasha. She may not want to work with somebody like Rosemary. She may not want to work with Taya. I'm not saying she said that. I'm saying there's a possibility that just as much as it's impossible to think that she can't lose, what makes it so that she has to win? Where does the story go from here? Because the last rodeo story is only as interesting as the next match. Ric Flair's last match story was only as interesting as the match coming up in WWE. You have to continue telling great stories and not having Daphne says it right here. NXT and Impact do that well with the women. But on this episode, in this point of view, and all I have is this as a reference point, they're not telling me an A or a B storyline. There's only one storyline for the women, and it's these 3 competitors in this storyline.
The one thing I did like, though, is that we did see that aftermath when we did see Jordynne Grace get that win. And she did what she had to do to make sure she got the match she wanted at Hard to Kill. You can't fault her for doing what she did, but at the same time, you can't fault Mickie James for wanting to prove that she can beat Tasha Steelz, because that was the narrative going into this match. And I think that was a very good one, because you felt a little bit sympathetic for Mickie James after, because you wanted to see her win. You wanted to see her beat Tasha, because you wanted that definitive match between her and Jordynne Grace at Hard to Kill. So it made me wonder that when she got so upset that she kicked Jordynne after this match, that this was, and this can be, that emotional match, an emotional send-off for Mickie going in. And I think this actually did a great job of promoting their upcoming match, because now next week you get to see what's next between Jordynne and Mickie, and I think that might be really good, because I have an assumption that they're going to do something of importance next week, and because of that, I do think this is a very important time. Kind of going to Cody's point, Cody, don't try to mock people with the disclaimer. Come on. We know that you will continue to blame people, and then you still don't need to have every single story. Yeah, our disclaimer's bigger. But size matters. But with that being said,
we should move to the end of the show. I think we should move. I think we've beat this dead horse about as much as we can.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw out that, to Cody's point, though, as people, and I'm sure to yours as well, Astrid, there is continuity that you do want as someone who is a long-time viewer. And you want to see something like that come to fruition at times. And perhaps if Masha is that right person to do it, so be it. To Ed's point, as somebody just joining in to watch it, you want to know that if it is her, you want to know who she is as a new viewer. But that's fine. This could be that one episode where you're just in the middle of those explanations.
As we start to end the show tonight, Necro Eric says, was tonight's episode anything to look back at? I always end up missing Impact on Thursdays due to Wrestling Open on IWTV and MLW. Astrid, do you want to go ahead and take this? Because I don't think you want me and Parrish answering this question.
I feel like tonight was like half and half for me. I feel like the one from last week was better than this. It's just like I feel like they had a lot of time between Overdrive and Hard to Kill that they had to fill in, so not every week is going to be the greatest. But definitely last week, check it out if you haven't. I wanted to go back to Barry's comment if I could find it at this point.
Which one?
So no, wait. It was the Trey and Black Taurus one here. Because we, like I said, we got the graphic when this was happening too. That's another point. He said, I don't get why Trey versus Black Taurus announced like that. They could have left it for when Impact returns. They gave a reason. Yeah, I feel like that too. Is like, how do you have somebody like Trey, the way he's been going lately, and Black Taurus, and like, and you just announce it with a graphic tonight, rather than just do some kind of segment backstage. I could have done with that at Eddie and Alicia, so you could have put them in there instead. It's like, you look how quick they did for the tag team title match. I could have done that for that too. I didn't understand why. Maybe they had something else to do with the tapings were happening for a lot of there. I have no. But I thought that like the conversation of this like Mickie's retirement thing, and I think was interesting to think about, because like I said, I feel like aside from Jordynne and Mickie, we have no direction in the knockouts right now, and I don't know if it's because they don't know who's actually staying and who's leaving. We just have certain people like they put almost on a weekly basis, like Taya and Rosemary and Jessicka, and even Deonna at this point. Gisele's getting to that point, like she's almost there on a weekly basis. But it's just at this point, aside from Mickie and Jordynne, everything that happens, I don't know what will happen afterwards. I just see myself thinking, I just want Mickie to win this, because I really don't want her to retire. And that's just me being selfish, because I love Mickie James. So. Well, that's what Ed and Parrish would say too.
I'm going to say this.
Sorry, go ahead, Parrish.
This might not have been the best Impact episode. However, I understand because I am an avid WWE watcher. There's been a lot of bad WWE shows, whether it's Raw, SmackDown. So if I'm just being introduced to what it is today with this one, it might not be the best representation. I follow trends, people. I will watch it again next week and the week after. Don't worry. I may not have thought this was the best one. However, I don't think next week is going to be a bad one either. I have faith in Impact Wrestling. Don't you worry.
And I was going to say this, a very similar thing. Impact Wrestling has one of the most underrated and talented rosters in all of professional wrestling. I've said it without watching the show, because I haven't watched week to week for Impact in, as I said, a very long time. That being said, I always catch up with everything going on Impact via YouTube. Yeah, that being said, it's fine, whatever. I really enjoy this roster. I enjoy the talent on this roster. While I don't think they put on... I come, as Parrish says, watching WWE. Yes, there are bad weeks of WWE TV. I understand that. But the things that Impact does wrong are the things that WWE knocks out of the park very often. Where the people who they want you to know are around are constantly on television. They're constantly in the mainframe. They're constantly being talked about or shown about. There's always a B story to almost everything. With the exception of next week's show, because it is, as Cody says, mostly just awards in the Matt Cardona versus Chris Sabin match.
If it happens.
That's randomly on that show, supposedly. According to Sabin, it's on the show next week. If it's on that show or it's on the show after that, I don't know. I will watch... I got the Impact membership, the $5 one on YouTube. I will continue to watch Impact this month. I will probably re-up and watch another month. I think Impact is an incredible, incredible television product. I just think that they can do so much better than they did. And tonight was not a good night for them. But I've said the exact same thing, and you can ask Astrid, my tag team partner on NXT. There are times where I come in and I go, this was a bad NXT. This made it difficult to watch. I've come in numerous times and told you that in our private chat, and then go on stream and say the exact same thing. And I ridicule and take down NXT for the exact same things I tell you tonight. But what I'll say is, in this week, I've watched 2 wrestling programs from start to finish with the idea of I'm reviewing these shows. On NXT this week, we had 5 to 6 women's segments in a row. Not just total, in a row. We had constant women's segments showcasing other talent so that we knew, hey, all these ladies are here. All these ladies are doing something. All these ladies are potential candidates for Roxanne's championship.
Except for the bird lady.
We didn't have the bird lady. And what did I say? I was upset that they didn't do anything with her because of the fact that they've been doing so well with Isla Dawn, and it's so unusual to do one with the other. I have no problem knocking down a peg any wrestling show that I watch for not doing the things that I think they should be doing. And while they don't need to be on every week, there needs to be a consistent aim to tell me who's in the division, because every week you're going to have new viewers. Every show that has Josh Alexander versus Speedball Mike Bailey, that's going to get you views and get you names and have people talking about his match of the year, is going to be bringing in new viewers. Those new viewers should know Masha Slimovich is taking some time off. Killer Kelly is somebody who might or might not still work for your company. That there are other women in the women's division other than the 4 that we saw in the tag match and the 3 or 4 that we saw in the main event. There needs to be more. There needs to be an emphasis. And Impact does a really good job, typically, on emphasizing those things. They can do this. They have the ability. They have smart people in charge. Scott D'Amore is a smart person in charge. Tonight was a rough show for them from my point of view. But guess what? I'm coming back in the new year to watch again. I probably won't watch Hard to Kill because I don't think I'm going to spend real money dollars on that show. Bird Lady has a chance, but NXT has to do a lot of work. But we'll talk about that on Tuesdays. We'll save that for Tuesdays, because I think Cody's already mad at me. and I don't want to take up any more of Cody's time talking about. And no, I will. Hold on. Let me pull this up. I will wholeheartedly disagree with this statement because I think Scott D'Amore is not incredibly out of touch. I think Scott D'Amore tells really good stories every now and then. And I'll tell you that, and there are multiple ways that I can tell you that. Because they told the story of Kazarian coming over from AEW to cash in Option C incredibly well. Now, granted, he wasn't winning, and we all knew he wasn't winning, but damn sure did they make you think he might win.
Yeah.
They've done an incredible job with telling the story of the last rodeo. Now, while tonight's show didn't show that, they've done an incredibly good job of telling it. Impact has all year told very good stories. The problem is that their show's not full of good stories, and it takes a back seat because you only have 100,000 watching on TV. You might have a couple 100,000 more on YouTube, and you don't have the reach that the other shows have to get the viewership out there. Impact is not out of touch. Impact tells interesting stories in the same way Lucha Underground did. They're willing to take that chance on some of these stories. That being said, for that reason, a lot of these things don't hit as well as they could because they take chances. But Impact is by no means out of touch. The show is not a mess, and it's not a place where wrestlers go to retire. Because there's so much up-and-coming talent in that company that you wouldn't believe. People like Josh Alexander. People like Tasha Steelz. People like, as much as I say it, Great Value Matt Taven, Chris Bay, Cody's favorite wrestler, Trey Miguel. There are so many young and up-and-coming talent. And I can't believe I'm going on a rant on your show. I'm going to stop. I'm done.
I know. I was going to say that. But I was like, I wanted to go back to this comment. It's just like they've been in business forever. So it's like, it feels like no matter what happens, they don't die. So like you said, they're doing something right. It's like not every show's going to be a hit as it is. So it's like we had 12 episodes now, and we had like maybe one or two that we were like negative about them so far. It's like, so it happens sometimes. It's not going to be 100% of the time either. They're just like, it's a matter of what happens. And I feel like another thing that hits them is like, it's towards the end of the year. So between that and the build up to Hard to Kill, it's a long time between that and Overdrive too. So to me, that's another thing that could be a reason why. I think like maybe after Hard to Kill and the fact that hopefully we get more people in the roster sometime next year, it'll be a little bit better. So I wanted to go back also to this comment. It says it's incredibly difficult to sit through an Impact program, and this is coming from a wrestling fan who watches 10 to 15 programs a week. I think, like I said, it's just like not every show is going to be a hit. I feel like for me, NXT has been more consistent with that with the ladies, for example, but it's just like, it's a matter of like to keep watching it. Like if you didn't like it tonight, try it. Not next week, because next week we got a recap and award show, but like the week after that, perhaps, because we get something different for them.
A comment like this also tells me that you watch way too much wrestling and that you're suffering on burnout, because if you're watching that many programs, you can't truly invest the way you need to in the right talent. You can't truly invest in the way that you should for a storytelling perspective because you're trying to juggle too many things. There's a reason why I only cover NXT for the most part, and I casually watch... I regularly watch WWE, and I casually watch matches from other programs. But yeah, you're going to pick your favorites. 12 to 15 is too much. Impact makes a profit. No, Impact doesn't make a profit. Let's try to clear things up. Anthem owns the network that they're on. Yes. Anthem has money. Yes. I guarantee you Impact's not turning a profit. If AEW's not turning a profit, and I can guarantee you they've yet to make a dime of actual money based on money they've put out versus money they've taken in, that there's no way Impact is doing it.
Anyway, my turn to say, with that being said, where can the people find you, Ed, in your rants?
Hold on. Oh, where can people find me? Hold on. Me. People can find me here. You can find me, EdFries12584 on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch doing my gaming content at EdFries2002. You can find me on the OLE Podcast Network, our local establishment here on Twitch. You can also find me on YouTube. I co-host with Astrid up there. I'm not used to doing it on this side. I'm used to being, on the right side. Astrid has me in a weird spot tonight. Anyways, I co-host. I almost said NXT. I co-host taking over the NXT recap show for our local establishment on Twitch. And next Friday, I'm going to be hosting an end-of-year show with 4 people who predominantly watch one type of wrestling throughout the entire year. Cody will be our Impact representative. And boy, is that going to take on a whole different connotation on Friday. I will be covering the WWE and NXT side. Astrid's co-host on Ladies Wrestling Showcase, Mel, will be covering Stardom and New Japan. And my friend from the Call of Unity, Lauren Goodnight, will be taking on the role of covering the AEW. We'll be talking about Match of the Year, Feud of the Year, Wrestler of the Year, and Show of the Year from the promotions that we watch. And if we so decide to, going ahead and giving a base overview of the outsider's view of the other products as we see it.
Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for Mike when he uploads this later to my record media YouTube. Where can the people find you, Parrish?
Oh, don't feel bad for him for editing this. He edited me and Maniac's podcast for years, and that was more and more of a shit show than this ever can be. But in terms of that, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Parrish, Instagram at Chris.Parrish. You can follow me anywhere at the OLE podcast. Follow me on YouTube at youtube.com/@ChrisParrish. My Twitch at @TheChrisParrish. Make sure you're checking me out every Sunday at about 12:10 Eastern, 10:10 my time, which is Alberta Mountain Time, for busting out with Bobby Munson. That is where you can find me.
And then you can find me at Astrid Pizarro on my Twitter and my Instagram, Astrid Pizarro20. For me, you can find me taking over with Ed on Tuesdays on OLE podcast. And then back again, making an impact next. I don't know if he'll be here next week. We'll see how it goes with the recap shows as end year awards. If not, we'll definitely be here the week after. Let's see if Saban was right and we get a match next week. We'll see. But if you go on my YouTube, you can find the past episodes of Making an Impact and Ladies Wrestling Showcase. And on the weekends, you can find my NXT review of Women's Wrestling Talk on their website as well. So for Ed, for Parrish, for myself, I want to say thank you, everybody, for watching, for staying in the comments and the discussion tonight. We never had a 2-hour episode before. This was the first time. I did want to rate Pollo Del Mar. They're watching wrestling right now, like old school wrestling. So I wanted to send you guys over there, if I got it correctly. Yeah, I did. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. But thank you, everybody, for staying by. Have a good night.